In 2003, I lived in Berlin as part of Tom Sachs's Nutsies installation at the Deutsche Guggenheim. I was 28 years old, and I had a social life there. And through friends, I met a bunch of Americans who were living in Berlin at the time. This was 2 years after September 11th, 2001, and I began filming these interviews on September 11th, 2003.
Hi, so who are you? My name is Krylon Superstar. That's my name, but who I am is a legend, a living legend. I'm laughing because it's true.
So when did you come here?
I came to Berlin almost 5 years ago from New York City. Should I go more detail?
Yes.
I came to Berlin almost 5 years ago from New York City. I fell in love with a boy in San Diego, and he came to New York to visit me. And yeah, I was still in love with him. He had a boyfriend, they broke up, and he realized that he was in love with me. So he sent me a round-trip ticket to Berlin and a note confessing his love to me, and told me that if I don't come to Berlin, then just burn the ticket. I was on the plane about 2 weeks later. It's a love story.
So what happened with him?
I'm still together with him at the moment. Almost 5
So you
years.
came here for love.
I came to Berlin for love, yeah. I didn't speak any German. I had absolutely no idea about the culture in Germany. I didn't know what Berlin was all about, except that there was a wall here. But I was confusing that with China all the time, so I was like, whatever.
What did you think when you got here?
When I first got to Berlin, I thought that that the people seemed to be a little bit cold and a little bit distant. And that's because of it's just a different way of life. Instead of saying, excuse me, when they run into you, they just keep walking. Or a lot of the people at the checkout counters in the supermarket seemed to be a little bit pushy about like what I wanted and for get me in and get me out as soon as possible. So in a lot of ways, it was like New York. But a little bit more slower, you know, and a lot more cigarettes. It was just...
And do you miss anything about home?
I miss what New York used to be. My New York, the New York that I lived in. I miss the glamorous parties. I miss the dreams that I had there because they were so real to me and I worked so hard to try to achieve them. Sometimes I miss just the culture of New York City. I miss the beaches in San Diego because that's where I was born. I miss the food in San Diego because you can't get it anywhere else in the world. I miss my family.
So what about, you said something about dreams, like...
New York City is the type of place, well, when I was really, let's just put it this way, when I was really young, I told my mom when I was about 6 years old, I packed myself a little suitcase and I walked out the door and she's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm running away. And she's like, well, where are you going to run away to? I'm like, New York City. And she's like, well, how are you going to get there? I'm like, I don't know. And so one thing led to another and I came back in the house. But when I finally did move to New York City, my mom was like, well, I guess you did fulfill one of your dreams. And that was more dreams in New York City than just that. Just the dream of stardom, the dream of being, you know, being something and doing something, this creative outlet in New York City that was once there that isn't there anymore, I don't think, personally. Oh my God, the mic fell. Sorry, and I'm not even drunk.
It's okay, the last guy was constantly knocking it off. He was really drunk.
Oh, okay.
You can't win with this thing. So do you feel like that you have a creative possibilities here, or?
I think that Berlin is one of the, it's a city that allows creative people to express themselves and is not looked upon as being weird. It's just looked upon as being artistic or in tune with, you know, one's own, the creative energy. And I believe that if one person is letting themselves go artistically, it causes a chain effect. And that chain effect happened in Berlin. And it's sort of like You know, like there's a ball of fire and there's all these little sparks that go off the fire. And I believe that that's kind of happening here where everybody's just sort of flaming off this big ball of fire, you know. And when I realized that Berlin was that, I decided I never wanted to leave.
Do you think that the financial differences between big American cities and Berlin, like how much it costs to live, help people be more creative?
I think that Berlin, just like any other European city, is more concerned with quality of life rather than with the amount of money one has in order to achieve quality of life. It's like in Spain or like in Portugal or something, these really those countries that are not in, you know, technically wealthy countries have a really high quality of life. And Berlin just has a quality of life in an artistic manner that way, you know.
So what do you do here for what?
Oh, well, I'm Krylon Superstar. Last name should tell it all. No, at the moment I'm in a theater play called Salome at the Deutsches Theater. And I'm playing the guy who cuts the head off John the Baptist. I played in theater pieces in Sophiensäle. I've helped organize parties. I've done drag shows. I've been in videos. Just sort of put my hand in all the different puddles that's out there, you know.
What do you think about, like, for the future? Like, are you gonna stay here? Or?
Oh, I believe that I will stay here, but I also believe that change is always good, and to go with it when it happens is even better, because stagnant energy is stagnant energy. So moving with energy wherever that ball goes is always a good thing. And if you're a part of the flame already, then it'll move and you'll go with it, is what I believe. So I can't say that I'll stay here forever, but I'll say that I'm staying here right now, because I don't know what the future is. Nobody does.
That's the impression I get from a lot of people. It's like that it's here now, you know, and that's why, you know, I'm here. Not me personally, but like people are here. It's like it's part of the. It's part of what makes it. It's part of why the energy's here. I think it's because these people are in touch with that.
With the right here, right now.
Yeah, like just always looking for it. Kind of found it here.
I think that in any situation, people who feel they're in some sort of a dark space are always attracted to light. And Berlin has a light at the moment, and people are attracted to it. It's just like moths attracted to, you know, level lamps or whatever it is. What is it, Lumiere lamps? I can't remember.
Bug lamps?
Bug lamps, yeah. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to die when you get here, you know, but it's always that attraction to light, you know. And some people either embrace it or they try to put it out because it's too bright for them, you know. But if there's more people into it, then the people who try to put it out won't ever succeed. You know? It's the same thing that happened in New York. New York was light. Giuliani came in and decided he wanted to put it out instead of embrace it.
Do you have any kind of issues being black here? Is it more or less?
Well, it really depends on where I'm at. I live in West Berlin, in Schöneberg area, and I have no problems at all. I know that there's places like Marzahn and Lichtenberg or whatever where I don't go because I choose not to be confronted with negative energy, personally. But I mean, just like there's negative energy in America, there is in Germany as well. I think that it's the reputation that Germany has for, you know, as far as its past history goes, makes a lot of people who aren't from Germany automatically assume that me being black would have a problem immediately, which that's not the case. you know, there's a tolerance of not just blacks, but also Asians and homosexuals, and, you know, it's just one big, huge melting pot, you know.
But can you make a comparison to, say, New York in the 90s? Yeah.
No, because New York is also a melting pot, but there's always these sort of like cliquey groups, you know? And it was always, I mean, there's outlets for people who are just open-minded, and the outlets were more so in New York than they are now, you know? Here it seems like the outlets are a lot bigger, where you could just like walk through Kreuzberg and not feel like you're being threatened because you're black. You know, if anything, you'd be threatened because you're from a different country or whatever, you know, which I find Ausländer is like a really bad word in Germany, you know.
But what do you think about the lack of diversity there? 'Cause I mean, it's like really white, and that struck me like as soon as I got off the plane. Like,
I don't know, because I haven't really noticed. I mean, where I live, there's very diverse. And the places that I go to is very diverse as well. I mean, I'm in Mitte, there's lots of black people there. I'm in, you know, Friedrichshain, there's not lots of black people, but there are black people in Friedrichshain as well, you know. Schöneberg, tons. I don't know, I didn't recognize that it being very white. I think that the further east you go, the more white it is. But then also the further east you go, the more intolerant it is. And I find, just like in America, you go to places that don't have the groups that hate it. They hate the groups more than anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's like people in the South or whatever who actually never seen a black guy but is quick to call him a nigger. You know, it's ignorance.
Like Atlanta, and there are a lot of people black people in like Mobile, Alabama, and still.
Yeah, well, I meet lots of Southern people. I actually lived in Dothan, Alabama for a while, and I never had a problem. And I lived in Paducah, Kentucky, and I never had a problem. You know, I don't know. I guess in that respect, you have to speak to a person who actually has had issues with it, but I never have. I mean, I'm from San Diego, California. You know, I lived in La Jolla, which was predominantly white. Never had a problem. That's just my personal own look on it.
Well, you know Krylon. Why did you ask him?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, one thing to me that it sometimes seems like, just to stick on the race thing for a minute, is that, like in America, you go somewhere and there's like a big group of black people, or a big group of Asian people, or a big group of white people, or whatever, but they're all kind of oftentimes in groups according to race. And here that obviously happens with the Turks, but that's partly the religious thing. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me like, you know, I still see lots of people of color, various color, but they just are hanging out with, you know, it's mixed up more. Does it seem like that to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because, you know, there's not like just big gangs of Asian kids that hang out with other Vietnamese kids, or, you know. Mm-hmm. How about in like the rest of Germany, when you've been in other places? Is it kind of the same?
No, not at all. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like Germany. And I don't think that Berlin is Germany, personally. I think it's just like a lot of people said that New York wasn't America, you know, and this kind of thing. I think, you know, I've been to Frankfurt. Frankfurt is fabulous. I've been to Hamburg. Hamburg is fabulous. But it's still not Berlin, because there's still lots of intolerance in those places, you know. And I think that if you go to a place like what is it called, Rostock, which is completely fascist, and I've driven through that before, and talking about Rostock, and I've driven through that before, having people totally give me dirty looks while they're listening to hip hop inside of the car, And I'm like, oh, well, that's real intelligent. You know, I think it's just total stupidity, you know, lack of knowledge. And it's also a product of your environment. If you grew up in an environment full of hatred, then that sticks with you to a certain level, you know. Unless, of course, you go all out of your way to change it yourself. You don't have the means, i.e. other black people or black people period in that area, then there's no way you can honestly change your opinion of them. So, I mean, hip hop is one thing.
Let's move on to fashion and glamour.
Oh God.
How fashionable do you think Berlin is compared, I mean, not even compared, but just how fashionable do you think it is? Like,
let me tell you one of my favorite stories. I lived right down the street here on Kuvristrasse when I first moved here. And I walked into a bar, and this is when the whole 80s revival thing was just coming back, you know, it was just coming back in New York. And I walked into this bar, and there was a lady done from head to toe, full electro 80s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks fabulous. I'm like, she's like 40. And then it hit me. This lady walked into this bar in 1984 and she has not left since. That's Berlin. She actually had the exact same outfit on in 1984. And
oh, I'm sorry.
that's
That's terrible. Okay, I shouldn't have cut you off. But what's the coolest thing that you've seen here that you've just been like, wow, or among the coolest things that you've just been like, wow, I'm so psyched that I live here?
I was walking through Friedrichshain. This was probably like 2 years after I got here. And I don't remember who I was walking with. And I was walking, and then I saw this hole in the ground, and there was music coming out of the hole. And me and a friend climbed down into the hole, and it was a bar. And I'm like, that is fabulous. Just a random hole in the bar, and that's the only way you can get in and the only way you can get out. And I was like, that is so kick-ass.
What was it?
It was a bar.
Like, how did they make it work? Was it like in a... Like,
They pounded a hole into the ground,
like an old Keller.
into an old Keller, and they made a bar out of it. It's a squat bar, and it still exists in Friedrichshain.
So, have you been there? Yeah, how do you get in?
You get in through the hole.
Is there a ladder?
It's kind of, yeah, that they kind of man-made stairs, yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah, that doesn't exist in New York. So that is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in Berlin.
I heard a story, this guy saw a shipping container, like a big steel shipping container, and like dozens and dozens of people were walking into it, and he was like, there's no way they're all fit in there. And he looked in, and they had cut a hole through the bottom of the shipping container and then found an old abandoned subway. And then they were, it was a staircase right there, boom, they like got illegal power and everything.
Oh, wow.
So he was like,
That's pretty clever.
few resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty clever.
Do you speak German yet?
Yes, I do.
You do? How long did that take?
I've been here for 5 years and I still don't speak it perfectly, but I speak enough to get by.
I understand.
And I can understand it too.
So, where were you 2 years ago today, September 11th?
I was doing the same thing I did earlier today. I was shopping. Now let me tell you the story. I just found myself a new pair of shoes on the Kudam, and I saw them. I'm like, oh my god, I got to get these fucking shoes. So I jumped on the train, and I went to the store, and I had a handy at the time, a mobile, a cell, whatever, and I was trying the shoes on again, and then a friend of mine, David, gave me a call. He's from New York too, and he's actually a film director. He gave me a call and he's like, the Twin Towers just got collapsed. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, David, give me a call later. Nobody flew a plane into the Twin Towers, please. You've been watching way too much movies. He's like, no, really, Krylon. I'm like, David, what did you take tonight? I just didn't believe him. And he's like, well, get to a U-Bahn because they have little TVs on the U-Bahn. Get to U-Bahn as fast as possible. So went to the, bought the shoes, went to the U-Bahn, and I saw it. And I'm like, oh, that's so weird. Because I was just speaking to, and this is the honest truth, a week before that, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said that there's stagnant energy happening. So something big is about to go down. Something as big as as Woodstock is about to happen because it has to. Because it's around the time that it needs to happen. And Mars was just coming closer and closer and closer to Earth, and that was just the beginning of the pull. And I'm like, something big is going to happen. I don't know where it is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I thought maybe it'll happen in New York, but I'm not sure. And I thought it was going to happen in Berlin, And I was like, whatever it is, I will definitely have to somehow take part in it and be a part of it because it's amazing. So sure as shit, that happened. Not like I'm saying I'm psychic, but some people believe otherwise. And then I met another person who did this CD cover for his band, and he did it like maybe a month before the September 11th thing happened, and it was the Twin Towers with two planes coming toward them, and the FBI came and started, questioning him and stuff like that. I've seen the CD cover, and I know he did that a month or something before the September 11th thing happened. It's just all these different coincidences, you know what I mean?
So intellectual.
On certain levels, sweetie.
Yes.
Wow. So this kid was in New York with the album coming?
No, he's from Berlin.
Wow, and the FBI?
Yeah, because it tracked him down. Mm-hmm. And there was also, he was a part of a group of people who were tracked down by the FBI for their publications that were very, very, very coincidental with the whole September 11th thing. The other one was a hip hop group from New York City, and the back of their CD cover, and I swear to God I've seen it, is these two guys are standing in front of the World Trade Center, and the World Trade Center was exploding exactly the way the planes went into the World Trade Center. They had no idea that was going to happen. They just wanted something really scandalous. And this was like a month or so before the World Trade Center happened too.
So did you talk to those guys?
No, I didn't talk to those guys because they're from New York. I only talked to the guys from Berlin.
What ended up happening?
Oh, well, they couldn't, they had absolutely no proof that they were involved in any way, shape, or form. It was just pure coincidence.
Alright, so then they just got off.
Yeah. They all got off.
Did they get like grilled or anything by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I was actually gonna get back a little bit, get a little political for a second, just kind of see like what you see happening in America right now politically and how it makes you feel, and if that has anything to do. I mean, obviously, your love of Berlin and your love of Hendrix and your love of people like me is the main things that keep you here. But if, for example, you had some really good opportunity in America, if political things going on there would play any part in your decision to not go, or what? You know what I mean? That's kind of a long, weird question, but just talk about how you feel about that whole administration.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
It's going pretty good. Love is a battlefield.
She called me as soon as I was leaving. Oh, sorry.
Oh, so I go? Well, I think that America is a very corrupt country, and I believe that you reap what you sow. I believe that the worst part about it is that that no matter what, they'll always try to be the head man in charge, which is one of the reasons why I personally will never go back to America, to live. I mean, I can't never say never, but I'll just say if the political situation did change, yes, I would go back because all my family is there. But at this point in my life, no, I wouldn't because politically it's a nightmare.
And how do you feel about the political scene in Germany?
I think that the political scene in Germany could probably be a little bit better than it is, but I believe that it's a lot more open than it is in America.
How do you feel about, like, for example, I mean, now since you've been here, you have some different access to healthcare and things that you don't have in America. How about that aspect of it?
Well, because is there an ashtray? Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that. No, I think as far as like healthcare and stuff like that. I mean, it's ridiculous to call yourself a superpower and then have people on welfare and having people actually try to get Social Security and stuff like that. When in countries like Berlin, it just comes so much more naturally. I mean, there's so many presidents, promise so much stuff about healthcare and security, and I mean, I think that's also a main priority in the survival of one's country is the health of one's country, and if you don't have that kind of a care for your citizens, then it's like a sick, diseased country. You know what I mean? I think that America on the outside is all fine and dandy, but any shell is. And in the inside, it's complete chaos,
Yeah, because, I mean,
it's the rich getting richer while the poor are getting poorer. It's crossing a certain boundary, a certain border, and then finally figuring it all out, But you have to somehow get to that border, and the rich won't allow that to happen.
I was thinking about how you're, how shall we say, a little accident prone from time to time. And I was just wondering, what do you think you would do if, some of the cuts and broken chipped teeth and things would have happened in America and you didn't have some sort of healthcare system caring for you?
Well, the thing is that, to my understanding, what they do is they'll bill you and then harp on you to pay it back and stuff like that. So, I'd have to have medical attention, so I'd have to go through it, which is a nightmare because, it really shouldn't be that way. It should be that just like state insurance, should pay for it. I mean, as much tax dollars as the Americans are paying, at least some of that can go into health care.
Yeah, the government's number one responsibility is to take care, is to protect its citizens.
Well, according to America, the government's number one responsibility is to build more bombs and try to tell everybody else how to rule their country when the government of America can't rule its own.
The tape is